Okay, now that we're back from the range, let's take a look at the brass we got. Now, as we're looking at the brass, we're going to go from left to right. Let me grab the other guy. Here's how it went. All these guys did really well, except for these two didn't do as well. And there's a reason why. These two I formed by overexpanding it to 416 and back down to 365. And if you do it like that, you get a little more powder capacity on your initial fire forming load, but not by too terribly much. So I used the starting charge, which was 63 grains of H4350. Now the only problem that happened was with these two right here is the necks, or the mouth of the case is kind of oblong. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let me rotate this guy. See it? But when you resize, full length resize it and trim it, it should get rid of most of that. Most of that's going to get taken care of anyway. Sometimes you'll have to shoot it a second time to completely stretch it out, but none of these cases split. And then I tried to split one of them by not annealing it, and it still held together. So let's size a few and see what we come up with. Once you get through fire forming at the range, you want to full length resize all your brass. That way, whatever happened in the chamber from the stretching portion, you can trim out. Now I always check my primers too, by the way, to make sure that I'm not having any adverse pressure signs. So let me go ahead and size all these. And just one note on fire forming, just because you didn't lose brass from a split from fire forming doesn't mean it won't happen in sizing, because it can still happen. When that happens, it's usually not in the shoulder, it's generally on the neck of the case, right around where the mouth is. And if you're using brass that's been picked up at the range to fire form, that can be a risk. Okay, so they're all sized. I didn't see any adverse pressure signs at all. No cratering on the primer pocket and no flattening of the primers. So our pressure was good. And the reason why you want to check that is because when you're taking a case like this and you're reforming it, a lot of times you're not going to have as much powder capacity as you would once the thing is fully formed. So you got to take into account that the less powder capacity, you're going to have somewhat of a pressure spike. So I generally, as a rule, use the starting load for whatever caliber that is, and that goes with the Ackley improved calibers as well. You would just use a standard factory load if you're going to use it, say a 243 to 243 Ackley improved. Let's trim these up and see what we come up with. Okay, when I set up my trimmer, I used a case that had already fire formed and trimmed back down to the trim length as my gauge. So I just put him back in his box. Now I take one of the ones that I fired today and do the same thing. Put him in my trimmer and go over. Sometimes they really don't trim too much, which is not a big deal. If you have some that are kind of way out around, don't worry about it. Once see, these things aren't even trimming. To show you, we're not even close to maximum charge on these guys. So now that the shoulder's been fully formed, you can go ahead and load these up with a full power charge. That way you can go ahead and form it out. And if you have one like this guy, he's way out of round, you can go ahead and trim some of it off. But don't take too much off the case. You just want to take that out of round on the face of the brass here, just so that the bullet leaves the case at a pretty uniform rate. So the bullet's still not on one side of the case and not on the other.